I would like to welcome to our WAAR Radio studios the Senate Majority Leader, Reid.
Good to see you, thanks.
Now, for the purposes of this interview, I need to ask you if you would like me to refer to you as Senator Reid, Mr. Reid, or Dirty Harry, the crookedest political hack ever to slither on the floor of the Senate.
Well, I don't accept your phraseology.
Alrighty then. Senator Reid it is. Now, for those who missed last week's show, we discussed live on the phone why you couldn't make it as scheduled last Monday. As it turns out, you were unable to make it because the supermarkets were out of Depends.
That's true.
And did you ever find out whose fault it was?
The Koch brothers, 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 Koch brothers.
So wait a second. I'm not really clear on this. You're saying it was the Koch brothers' fault you ran out of Depends?
Of course.
You blame the Kochs. I'm shocked. Before we get into the meat of the interview, I've heard that Depends can be a little binding down there. How is the special chair we got for you?
I feel very comfortable.
Good. Now, my producer says that you listen to the Ascend Conservatism Show all the time.
I do.
So may I ask you if you have formed an opinion on its host, little old me?
Anarchist?
Now, that's a little harsh.
Domestic terrorist.
That's more like it. Coming from you, it's a badge of honor I wear proudly. I'm not sure if you know this, but I was born in Las Vegas.
Lies.
No, really, it's true. As I was growing up, both of my parents worked in Nevada politics in one capacity or another, and they both have first-hand knowledge of your crooked land deals.
They're making that up.
I don't think so. It is well known around Vegas, and the rest of Nevada for that matter, all of your underhanded land deals that took a once two-bit boxer from Searchlight, Nevada, population 500, to living in the five-star hotel, the Ritz-Carlton in D.C., on a lifetime public servant's paycheck. You have to admit the tens of millions you have made while working most of your life for the government smells of corruption.
You could literally smell the tourists.
No, Senator Reid. Actually, that's the smell of one of the most corrupt Senate leaders in history.
It's absolutely false.
Let's agree to disagree. Now, being from Las Vegas, I am a little more privy to the dealings of your tenure as the chairman of the Gaming Commission back in the 70s. As everyone knows, the casinos those days were run by the mafia. Now, what surprises me about those days is how you were not imprisoned for bribery.
Objection.
Mr. Reid, this is a radio station, not a courtroom, although you should be on trial. Now let's get back to your days as the head of the Gaming Commission that was handing out licenses to known mobsters like lollipops.
Was my idea?
Ha! I don't doubt that. Now, it's a known fact that a Chicago mafia hood in Las Vegas, Joe Augusto, was recorded on tape by the FBI saying, and I quote, "We have Mr. Cleanface in our pocket," unquote. And after he was arrested, he told the FBI that Mr. Cleanface was you.
Stories made up from whole cloth.
Not really, sir. They have him on tape. But in the end, in true Democrat cover-up style, the Attorney General under President Carter told the FBI to move on, nothing to see here, and you skated on going to prison for being on the mob's payroll. How did you get away with that?
Corrupt Justice Department.
Of course it was. Well, it's nice to know that corrupt Democrat administrations didn't start with Obama.
Hard to comprehend, but that's true.
Let's move on to your days in the Senate.
Excuse me.
Please, can somebody get Senator Reid a drink of water? And put a few drops of truth serum in there. Lord knows he rarely tells the truth in interviews.
It really is terrific.
What's terrific? Misleading the American people?
A number of statements that have not proven to be factual.
Otherwise known as lies.
Lies.
At least we can agree on that. Now let's talk about your first 21 years in the Senate. Pretty much uneventful until you took over the Senate Majority post in January 2007. Before that, you spent most of your time just lining your own pockets as well as your cronies by passing bills to make huge land grabs in Nevada for you, your sons, and your donors.
How'd you like that, John?
My name is CFJ.
Of course.
So you have no shame in admitting that, like in your attempt to take the Bundy grazing land to get kickbacks for you and your son from the Chinese solar company, you are doing it for your own personal profit?
I've worked to bring millions of dollars to Nevada.
By to Nevada, you mean your bank account in Nevada.
Okay? Do I need to say more?
I guess not, if you're so brazen about your perverting your seat as a senator for personal gain.
Oh, yeah, this is wonderful.
Sure. Wonderful for you. What about your constituents in Nevada? What is your opinion of Nevadans?
Each day that goes by, it's hard for me to comprehend how ugly, vile, vulgar people are.
Wow. That is extremely repugnant that you feel such disgust for the people you represent. Don't they have the right to prosperity like you?
What right do they have?
I guess none, as long as you supposedly represent their interests in Washington. So let's delve into what you and Nancy Pelosi did when you took over the purse strings on January 3rd, 2007, when the Democrats took control over the House and the Senate. You inherited 4.6% unemployment from Bush and the GOP, with a strong and steady 3.5% GDP. Gas was $2.26 at the time. Bush had reduced the deficit from $412 billion in 2004 to $161 billion in his last budget. It was decreasing every year up until you Democrats took over the budget process. I mean, Bush's economic policies had created a record of 52 straight months of job creation. Please explain to me, wasn't the Democrats raising the minimum wage as the first priority after taking full control reckless?
You talked about reckless and irresponsible. Wow.
I agree. But what it actually did was end Bush's record at 52 months. But more importantly, it started the layoffs that set up this country for the Great Recession that hit in late 2008.
Wow.
Do you just realize now how economically reckless that was?
Of course.
Too late now.
That's true.
What really burns me up is that your minimum wage rate hike was in 3 stages. The first got the layoffs started, and then the second one was scheduled right in the middle of the economic crash on July 24, 2008. Didn't it occur to you that allowing the increase right in the middle of all the economic turmoil would exacerbate the layoffs and the crash?
Of course.
Then why did you do that?
It's something I wanted to do.
Bingo! We finally get the truth from one of the many Democrat architects of the Great Recession. So it was your intention all along to cause the crisis, to get your light-skinned black with no Negro dialect into the White House.
Of course.
So, the press conference you held right when the Dow was losing 700 points a day, where you spread a rumor that, and I quote, a major insurance company, one with a name that everyone knows, that's on the verge of going bankrupt, unquote, was only to crash all insurance stocks to send the Dow past a point of no return and accelerate the crisis?
If you can imagine.
I really cannot imagine the despicable actions of all you Democrats causing the crisis in the first place with your cash cow, slush funds, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac mortgage bubble that burst, then adding fire to the flame by spreading bankruptcy rumors and at the most inopportune time.
Hard to comprehend, but that's true.
Tell me this.
Okay.
Whose idea was it that, around the same time you crashed all the insurance stocks, that scumlord and New York Senator Chuck Schumer spread the rumor about a California bank, IndyMac, going under, that caused a run on that bank and did make it go bankrupt, just to make the crash in the banking stocks worse?
Was my idea?
Boy, when it comes to causing pain and misery to the American people, you are just full of great ideas.
Hard to comprehend.
Yes, it is hard to believe. Speaking of pain and misery, don't tell me Obamacare was your idea.
I'm sorry.
I'd choke too if I was part of that disaster.
This is a wonderful piece of legislation.
Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people, quote, lost their health plan they liked, unquote, as in the Obama lie of the year?
8 million.
Try 11 million. Now, before it passed by a hair, You and dingbat Nancy Pelosi, as well as the pathological liar-in-chief, claimed that the Unaffordable Care Act would actually save money for the federal government. Where did you come up with those numbers?
Numbers I made up.
Obviously, because now the CBO scores Obamacare with real numbers, and they say that its 10-year costs will now eclipse $2 trillion of more debt.
Wow.
Exactly. Wow. But hey, it's only the taxpayers' money.
It really is terrific.
Typical Democrat enjoys spending other people's money. Now, since we just talked about President Obama and one of his many, many lies, I think it's time for you to give us your opinion on the leader of your party. What say you about Barack Obama winning the award, Lie of the Year?
Well, I have called the president a liar.
So you have called the president a liar.
Of course.
So being that you are also one to lie through your teeth, you must be friends.
Friends, we get along extremely well.
Figures. But aren't even you sick of Obama's constant lying?
It has gotten out of hand.
It has. But the fact that you call him out on his lies is a good start. What about his general attitude and his willingness to listen to people other than the teenage sycophants he has surrounding him in the Oval Office?
Well, he hasn't been somebody that listens to other people. We all know of his swagger and his arrogance.
Yes, his arrogance can be quite grating because it's obviously unfounded with any real accomplishments.
That's true.
What is your impression of President Obama's obsession with getting his face on TV almost every single day?
I got a call today from the President Chief of Staff for my permission to let the President speak to the joint session of Congress this coming Wednesday.
Oh, no. Not again.
Listen.
I'm listening.
See, he's not such a big shot when he doesn't have the microphone.
Exactly. That's the problem of this narcissist in chief. He's got to be on TV 24/7 to feed his massive ego. So tell me, what do you think of Obama on the foreign policy front, especially the tragic mistake by not signing a status of forces agreements with Iraq before the withdrawal date?
A slaughter is taking place in Iraq.
So true.
It's the worst foreign policy blunder in the history of our country.
Yeah, it looks like it just might surpass all of his other foreign policy blunders, like Libya and Benghazi, Syria's red line joke of a threat, being asleep at the wheel when Putin invaded the Ukraine, the fortifying of the Taliban hierarchy for the deserter Bergdahl, and the list goes on and on and on.
But it's a long list, I guess.
Yes, it is a very long list.
Things are not okay in Iraq.
No, they're definitely not okay. As we were told by him before the election that he had Al-Qaeda decimated and had Al-Qaeda on the run.
Lies.
You mean he told lies just to get reelected?
Of course.
Oh my. I am shocked. Now please, let's talk about you, President Obama, and the Democrats' economic record. As stated before, George W. Bush handed you guys 4.6 unemployment. And what is the result of the Democrats being in charge of the budget since January 3rd, 2007?
The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer.
Yes, that's a fact. Worst gap between the rich and poor in history. What about jobs?
Men don't have jobs. Women don't have jobs either.
That's right. Your economic policies have been a disaster.
Why do we have more people on food stamps? Because we have more poor people.
Yes, that's also true. President Obama has pushed 6.9 million people into poverty since he took office, and he has created more people who have to rely on food stamps just to get by than any other president in history.
That was really hard to do.
I bet it was. So have you laid all of those things out to Obama and the misery you all have created?
Of course.
And what did he say?
The president has said what he's been saying for 4.5 years. Give me some more time. Progress is being made. But no progress is being made.
I agree wholeheartedly. No progress is being made. It's all smoke and mirrors. The Fed prints trillions of dollars to prop up the Dow, and only the Wall Street fat cat donors of Obama are getting rich.
The rich are getting richer.
Nothing but crony capitalism at its worst.
That's true.
So as you stated earlier, You listen to the Ascend Conservatism Show all the time.
Of course.
So you know that our other guests, Nancy Pelosi and Vice President Joe Biden, have finally woken up and called for the impeachment of President Barack Obama. Is that something you would want to do tonight, right here on WAAR Radio?
It's something I wanted to do.
Well, that just might save this great country from the disastrous decision to put an unqualified interloper into the White House. Are there any others on the Democrat side who think we need to do that?
Everybody should. This is something that's important to do.
So there is hope for us after all. There is another corrupt political hack infesting D.C. that also needs to get the boot. Eric Holder is not only the only cabinet member in the history of the United States to be held in contempt of Congress, but has been caught twice lying under oath.
Lies.
Yes, a running theme in this administration. He lied to Congress. He lied to America.
He lied to me.
Join the club. So what is your opinion on the Department of Justice under Obama's political operative, Eric Holder, and the Fast and Furious scandal? The scandal that he is trying to cover up now by trying to stop the release of damning documents linking him and Obama to the hundreds of dead bodies on both sides of the border.
The scandal within the Department of Justice is the biggest scandal ever to hit the Justice Department. It is a Justice Department that has become corrupt. It's a Justice Department where there is no independence.
So you know the DOJ is corrupt too.
I do.
So do you think Democrats like Schumer, who had asked for Bush's AG to resign for something that he did that was completely legal, should he and others ask Holder to resign?
Bush should have asked the man to resign. But if any concern for his country in a positive base, he would quit a long time ago. He is downgrading our country, not only our Justice Department.
Well, I'm glad we have you on record as pushing for the disgraced Eric Holder to resign. Have you thought about indicting Holder on crimes against America with all the frivolous lawsuits he's brought against our own sovereign states, as well as the hundreds of slaughtered Mexican citizens with, once Obama exercised executive privilege, all but admitted that they were behind the operation? Have you thought about it?
Long and hard.
So will you indict Holder?
So we're going to go ahead and do our best to get that done.
Great news for our listeners. So now we have you in an unfamiliar position of you telling the truth.
I don't accept your phraseology.
I'll work on that. Let's delve back into the cesspool Americans like to call the long list of Harry Reid scandals.
But it's a long list, I guess.
And your dubious statements.
Made a number of statements had not proven to be factual.
Lies.
Lies.
You're coming around. So there has been scandal after scandal dating back to your being in the pocket of the mob, to wetting your beak with gifts from the disgraced lobbyist Jack Abramoff, to the attempts to confiscate the Bundy grazing land for the Chinese solar company that your son works with, to purposefully hiding the Reid name when illegally giving your granddaughter campaign funds to the many shady land deals. By the way, how long have you been corrupt?
Oh, 40 years.
Wow.
Wow.
You agree. Let's move on to what I think is a slimy move on your part, and to be honest, despicable. There is a small and arcane portion of the Constitution that you have twisted, perverted, to use as a weapon against your political foes without reprise from lawsuits of slander and defamation.
To grab headlines?
Yeah, that too. Thanks for helping out. This is called the Speech or Debate Clause. It was intended by our founding fathers to shield Congress from a tyrannical president who tries to silence them by imprisoning them for things they say that he doesn't like. You have used this to attack your fellow Americans and lie like a rug. Like when you said Mitt Romney didn't pay his taxes. I personally think this warping of the Constitution is reprehensible.
Thanks.
Oh, so you think it's okay to spread known lies on the Senate floor by using this clause as a cloak against slander suits?
I do.
Do you have any shame?
There isn't much.
I guess not. Now you also lie and slander the Koch brothers constantly from the protection of the Senate floor.
The Koch brothers, 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 Koch brothers.
Yes, America realizes you have gone off the deep end when it comes to the Kochs.
These two brothers are trying to buy America.
Yes, there it is. Your latest scare tactic. Which reminds me, Senator Reid, your latest lie is that the Democrats don't have any billionaire donors like the Kochs. Isn't it a fact that Nazi sympathizer and billionaire George Soros and green energy loon billionaire Tom Steyer, who is going to throw $100 million down the debunked global warming rabbit hole, and who in fact gave you, Senator Reid, $5 million for your super PAC, are bankrolling more failed progressive ideas and politicians like yourself and President Obama? Not to mention Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen, and most of Hollywood. And I haven't even gone into all the unions that donate to the Democrats billions of dollars just to get that money in return in kickbacks from Democrats in Congress, which, by the way, is like legally laundering money. Your mob friends would be so proud of you, Mr. Cleanface. I would like to move away from all your backroom deals and underhanded money-grubbing Washington ways. I'm going to have to take a shower after this segment. And let's close out our interview with your life in D.C. It's summertime, and there will be a lot of your fellow Americans, as well as your constituents from Nevada, coming to visit the Capitol soon.
Long lines coming into the Capitol. In the summertime, because the high humidity and how hot it gets here, you could literally smell the tourists coming into the Capitol.
Unbelievable. You have become a multi-millionaire off the taxpayers' backs all these years, and you actually have contempt for them?
It's hard for me to comprehend how ugly, vile, vulgar people are.
Speechless. Now, we couldn't end without touching on your latest manufactured hot-button issue, the NFL's Washington team's nickname, the Redskins. I know that this is your latest attempt to distract the American public from your disastrous 7-year reign as Senate Majority Leader. This baloney about the Redskins nickname. After they have used the same name for 82 years, now it has become racist?
That was only an issue of diversion.
Exactly. Thank you for being so honest. I mean, would you tell the high school football team in Arizona that is made up of 100% Navajo Indians that their name, the Redskins, is racist? I think it is reprehensible for the people who sent you to D.C. to look out for them and pay for your salary that you are wasting the country's time and money on an 82-year-old nickname? Since the recession ended 5 years ago, Nevada is still suffering. Nevada's unemployment is the third highest in the country at 8.5%, third highest in home foreclosures, and has 24% of its children living in poverty. Aren't you ashamed to be fiddling around with the Redskins name while your people, Nevadans, are suffering?
Hard to comprehend.
Yeah, we got that. Since you have been in charge of every piece of legislation that has come out of Washington for the last 7 miserable years, and you have refused to bring up for a vote in the Senate over 40 bipartisan jobs bills passed by the House of Representatives only because you were afraid they would pass the Senate and get people back to work, and that the Republicans just might get credit, isn't it time for you to resign, since the only thing you care about is politics over country and party over people? Isn't it time for you to resign to end the American people's suffering?
Well, it's not over.
So you do intend to stay on in the Senate?
I do.
Well, if there was ever a reason to hand the Senate back to the Republicans, who handed you 4.6% unemployment back in 2007, you have made the most compelling case today. Well, it looks like our time has run out, and it looks like your depends are running too. So thank you for being here and being completely honest as to how despicably slimy and catastrophic for the American people you have been over these last 7 years. Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
So as we disinfect the WAAR Radio studios, let's go to a break.